It all started with a house that Joe built. Joe Brown, that is. He tucked it into the trees on 2 acres in southwest Austin.
The whole entire living area of the house is upstairs on the 2nd floor. And so there's no connection to the landscape except looking out in the trees, so you feel like you're in a tree house. When I came and I saw this beautiful piece of property that was completely devoid of any planting other than the big giant trees and the native vegetation, underbrush, I thought, oh, this is a perfect landscape for me to create something really special. And it really spoke to me. I had to do a lot of research and a lot of trial and error to figure out what would grow well here. I'd always lived in town before and in the middle of town in Barton Hills, and so I had better soil and I had more sun. I did a lot of research to find out what plants would do okay in shade.
Prompted by the land's natural beauty on clay and rock soil, Sandy discarded her former garden style.
It was a little more formal. You know, I had grass and, you know, I had flower beds and I had some big trees, but it was more structured. But it still was not a hard-edged, you know, really clean line. It was, you know, it was more of an English garden look.
The first year, she started at the front door entry. She and college roommate Anita Cox led a granite path topped with pavers.
But it's got sharp edges on it. It's not a river rock, because if it has the sharp edges on it, it locks together and doesn't migrate, you know, like rocks do that have soft edges on them. When you step on them, they'll shift and move out, and this has stayed. I mean, this has been down 9 years, and it's stayed pretty much where we put it. You know, it kind of packs and locks together.
Then she casually arranged seasonally flowering and fruiting native and adaptive plants to edge a patio nook. Anita, an avid gardener and volunteer at the Denver Botanical Gardens, prompted ideas for drought-tough plants.
Friends and family have all been part of this. And then 4 years ago, my mother passed away, and I was in a lot of grief about that. And my college roommate came, and so she and I created the Mom's Garden, which is over on the back side of the house, kind of another room. And that's the other thing about this garden, is it's sort of comprised of rooms that are cut out of the native vegetation. And so we created the Mom's Garden in memory of our mothers together.
Sandy tucked another room under a leafy canopy.
We're gifted with live oak trees, so they don't lose a lot of their leaves. Of course, the cedar elms all lose their leaves.
Evergreens, including succulents, contribute understory attraction even in winter.
Even when the perennials die back and the beds are kind of bare, you still have the structure of the garden, and you've still got these points of greenery throughout the landscape because of the structure of the garden. I also use brightly colored pots because this is primarily a shade garden, and there are lots of times of the year that there's nothing blooming. So I use bright pillows and bright pots to help add color to the garden when things aren't blooming.
She added the magical touch with whimsical fairy gardens to delight her granddaughters.
Then this year, I had an opportunity to create the entry garden that you see to the left as you drive in the driveway. I had always wanted to get some large rocks and stones and that were native to this area and create another garden there. So there's another room up there, which my granddaughters love to play in. It's really fun to watch them. They hop from rock to rock, and they very often end up singing while they're doing it.
Joe sculpts art to promote visual cues.
One year for my birthday, my college roommate came from Denver, and Joe, they had my father build 20 birdhouses in his workshop, and then they had friends of mine come one Saturday morning in July, you know, like the hottest day of the year, and everybody painted birdhouses.
Friend and artist Mark Newquist adorned one birdhouse with wine corks. He lacquered them to protect against the elements.
He does ceramics and welding out of found objects. Another significant birthday, they did the same thing again. They had another party Saturday morning in July and created stepping stones. The garden enclosure was created so that I could grow vegetables, and I found out that I'm not very good at that. So now it encloses herbs and things that the deer eat. The gate is created out of the old croquet set that my brother and I used when we were children to play at my grandfather's house in Missouri. Joe and I created the gate together.
Refuge for habitat is important to Sandy and Joe as land around them gets raised. By adding water and year-round food, they receive certified wildlife habitat status.
I just wanted this place to be where we could all go habitate together. It's just a really special place to live, and I wanted it to stay that way.
Since they're on a community well, any plant addition must be naturally water thrifty. To water new plants, their valuable trees, and help others in extreme drought, they installed drip irrigation and 5,000 gallons of rainwater collection.
Because we're using drip irrigation everywhere, we use very little water, and it's very, very efficient.
To prevent washout on a front walkway and to water potted plants, they installed an attractive ceramic collection tank.
We built a concrete pad underneath it, and we decorated it with tiles, sort of to give it a little bit of a mosaic look. We wanted something rather than just a downspout, so we put a rain chain down from the gutter.
In her garden endeavors, she asked Leah Churner of Delta Dawn Sustainable Gardens to join her.
She has helped me with all of the things that I can't do anymore because I have arthritis in my thumbs, and has helped me tremendously with some of the design ideas I have, helps me implement them. We bounce ideas off of each other.
As an architect of buildings, how does Sandy's career impact the architecture of gardening?
They inform each other. They're not separate. This is just an extension of who I am as an architect. I don't do the sleek, modern work. My background is in historic preservation. The garden informs what I do in the garden. I don't go out and try to force it into a particular way that I want it to look. I want it to be part of a whole. This is how I relax. This is my meditation. This is just a part of who I am. This just has evolved because I'm evolving as a person, and so my garden sort of reflects that.